Okay, your name's Quincy.
Getting to rat.
Too big.
He's probably sleeping.
Or he knows.
He probably doesn't know.
I'll ask if I read. This one looks a little bit more interesting.
Okay, that's fine. And that one's a green one, so don't worry about that one. I lost my keys. No, okay. Just throw them back.
Aw, Mr.Rowell.
What?
His brief.
That was probably when I was.
Huh?
It's a gift bag receipt. Gift bag thing.
His brief.
My wife.
Oh my god. That's what I didn't know your wife was named Brief.
Alright, so we're getting into kind of this is the AP material for photosynthesis. We went over kind of the on-level stuff really quick yesterday. We're going to see if that helps out a little bit. If that makes it worse, we'll find out. As I said, we're still kind of figuring out how this class is going to go. Why isn't this working? Oh, because it came unplugged.
Good job.
Alright, so you probably learned a little bit about photosynthesis, kind of middle school. Maybe it's a little bit of elementary. I saw this from a presentation that I was looking at. I got a kick out of it. I was like, oh yeah, photosynthesis. You take light energy and carbon dioxide and you make oxygen and sugar.
Why does that dude look so happy?
Because he's like, oh, this is a really pretty picture, pretty simple, pretty straightforward.
He's
Then you go to AP biology and then you realize this is what photosynthesis actually looks like. And you're just like, oh no, I've been lied to my entire life.
He's Hawkeye. That's what
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Jeremy Renner.
He's. I don't know.
Okay.
He had an accident 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Where he was born, my parents were born there. That's in California.
So this picture here to the right shows the 2 different stages of photosynthesis. We've got the light reactions and then what we call the light independent reactions, the Calvin cycle. We're going to go over those. Alright, so kind of brief overview. The focus of section 8.1, we want to know what the relevance of photosynthesis is to living organisms. And then what are the main cellular structures involved in photosynthesis for the substrates and products. Keep in mind in biology when we talk about substrates, that's just the reactants. Okay. So can we answer some of those already? Why do we photosynthesis?
To make oxygen.
Yeah.
So you said all just turn carbon dioxide.
1, to make oxygen. Yes, that's super important. Why else? Glucose. What do we use glucose for?
Sugar.
Sugar, which is the main precursor in cellular respiration, right? It's what we break down to get ATP. Another really big thing here is we use this term called fixing carbon dioxide. What's the backbone of all the major macromolecules?
Carbon.
Carbon is the backbone of all of them, right? In some way, shape, or form, right? The way that we are able to have carbon is because we are able to transform glucose or some other type of carbohydrate that plants make from photosynthesis to make our proteins, to make our nucleic acids, to make our own carbohydrates. And so it's kind of important for 3-fold reasons. 1, it makes oxygen. 2, it makes glucose for energy. And 3, it allows us to have carbon so that we can make different molecular structures and macromolecules. Okay. Again, this is just kind of the rough thing. We have carbon dioxide and sunlight and water on one side, and on the other side, you're making oxygen and glucose. All right, autotrophs and heterotrophs. What's the difference? What do autotrophs do? Make their own food. Heterotrophs.
Depend on autotrophs to have food.
Yeah, or other heterotrophs. Because you can have heterotrophs eat other heterotrophs.
Yeah.
For example, we eat
T-Rex.
heterotrophs. Yeah. We could. Auto means self, troph means feeding, so autotroph is self-feeders. Hetero means other, troph means feeders, so heterotroph means other feeders. 2 types of autotrophs. There's photoautotrophs. What are some examples of those?
Photoautotrophs, plants, yeah.
Plants, certain types of bacteria. Yeah. Photo means light. So these are basically make their own food using light energy. They include plants, algae, and some bacteria. Chemiotrophs.
Yeah, chemical.
Yeah, chemical. Basically, they're leveraging energy from certain chemicals, inorganic chemicals specifically. These are thermophilic bacteria that capture energy from inorganic compounds to make food. You're going to see these in like deep thermal vents in the very, very deep ocean. Yes, sir.
So like Venus flytraps, they don't use any light energy.
So interesting enough, they do. What color are Venus flytraps?
They're green. So
They're green. Yeah. So if they're green, they photosynthesize. What they do though is there's usually Venus flytraps in the natural environment grow in poor soil that don't have a lot of nutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus. So the way they get that is by eating the flies. They don't use them for like glucose. They use them for basically proteins. If that makes sense, right? Interestingly enough, if a Venus flytrap is planted in high nutrient soil, it won't cause on flies because it doesn't need to, right? So it doesn't want to expend that extra energy to get nutrients it's already getting from the soil. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
All right, so up here we've got algae, plants, and cyanobacteria, and then down here these deep sea thermal vents is where you'll see these chemiotrophs. They do a process called chemosynthesis, basically, and that's the process they do instead of photosynthesis. Heterotrophs, including most animals, fungi, and most bacteria, rely on sugars or other carbohydrates produced by autotrophs for their energy needs. The predator that eats the deer receives a portion of that energy originated from photosynthetic vegetation that deer consume. What that means is we are all vegetarians if you go down far enough, right? Listen, so if you eat a steak, how did that steak get made? From eating what?
Cows.
Plants. Cows eat plants.
Cows eat plants.
I thought you were asking what the steak comes from.
Yeah. Well, how is the steak made? From the cow eats plants to make the steak. And then how do those plants get their energy from
Really, we're eating the sun.
sun? Right.
We eat the sun.
All right. So why do scientists think that photosynthesis evolved before aerobic cellular respiration?
Because some bacteria have it.
Yeah. Okay. What's the byproduct of photosynthesis? There's two.
Glucose and
Glucose and oxygen. So, hypothetically, if we lived in an environment that didn't have any oxygen because there was no photosynthesis being made, could you have aerobic cellular respiration? No, right?
You have fermentation.
Okay, it'd be fermentation or some other type of respiration, but you wouldn't have aerobic respiration. Remember, aerobic means it's done with oxygen, anaerobic is done without oxygen. What do carnivores such as lions depend on photosynthesis to survive?
Because
Eat the
it's
gazelle,
like that goes
eat grass.
Yeah, they eat the gazelles, they eat the grass, going up that food chain. The grass gets their energy from the sun. The sun is the originator of pretty much 99% of the energy in some way, shape, or form. What evidence supports a claim that photosynthesis and cellular respiration are interdependent processes?
because like the products of one go the other.
Yeah, the products of one are the reactants of the other, and so on and so forth. It's the same reaction, just going in opposite directions. Very good. Then as represented here, again, the inputs to photosynthesis, CO2, H2O, and sunlight. The outputs, glucose and oxygen, which these are going to be inputs to cellular respiration. Where does photosynthesis happen within a cell? Chloroplast. Where does cellular respiration happen within a cell? Mitochondria. Very good.
You need heat.
No, it's an exothermic reaction or an exergonic reaction, so it actually makes heat. Okay, does that make sense?
Because it shows it going in, so.
This is heat releasing. It's part of it being released.
That was ATP being released.
Well, it is, but it's also releasing heat.
Oh.
All right, this is the equation. Love it, know it, have it memorized, literally back and forth. Okay, 6 CO2 plus 6 H2O. With the addition of light energy, you'll see 6 H12O6 plus 6 O2. Okay. Again, the opposite is cellular respiration.
Well, that's a big tree.
Yeah, photosynthesis uses solar energy to make sugar from carbon dioxide and water, and oxygen is going to be the waste byproduct. So kind of the super simplistic version is this: carbon dioxide and water and sunlight go in, sugar and oxygen go out. Like cellular respiration involves a complex metabolic pathway. It's a lot more complicated than probably what you were used to remembering. The two metabolic pathways in photosynthesis are the light reactions and then the Calvin cycle. Sometimes, depending on what book you're looking at, the Calvin cycle will be called like independent reactions. Yes, ma'am.
And do they like figure out sugar and oxygen come out? You can't like see for this cycle, right?
You wouldn't be able to see it. There are, let's say hypothetically we have a way to detect sugar. Okay, which I mean we can do some tests for sugar. Johnny does a test for sugar and everything. They can have bacteria that photosynthesize in an enclosed environment, have CO2 and water, and then if you see sugar being made and sugar levels increasing, then you know that whatever they're doing is making sugar. Same thing with oxygen, like oh, we're getting oxygen over here or something like that. Does that kind of make sense? I don't know the ins and outs specifically how they measured it or whatnot, but that would be kind of like the just assume. All right, light reactions. Oh, yeah, we'll go briefly on this. All right, light reactions. Their job is to make energy in the form of ATP and NADPH. Okay. The Calvin cycle uses that energy to build sugars from carbon dioxide. Right. Now, formula for glucose is C6H12O6. My own level guys students had a hard time with this. How many carbon dioxides are needed to make a glucose?
6.
6. Okay. Thank you.
Wait, why 6? Oh,
Because it's C6.
Okay.
Yep. So the light reactions convert light energy into chemical energy in the form of NADPH, an electron carrier, and ATP. It does this with basically two different little sets of an electron transport chain. It occurs in the thylakoid membrane of the chloroplast. And that Calvin cycle is going to use that ATP and NADPH to make sugar, specifically glucose. This occurs in what is called the stroma of the chloroplasts. So the light reactions take place in the thylakoid membrane. The stroma, or the Calvin cycle, takes place in the stroma. Water is typically integrated into the cell by being absorbed from the roots from the soil. That's why you water plants in the soil. CO2 comes from the air, and as a result of gas exchange through stomata. Stomata are basically pores on the bottom of the leaf. If you look at them in a microscope, they're going to look kind of like that. They look like little mouths. They can open and close, so they can let stuff in and out, or they can keep it shut to not let anything in or out. Likewise, O2 waste product exits through the stomata. And then again, sunlight is part of the reactants, right? You have to have sunlight to get this done. All right, kind of introduction to leaf anatomy. On hot, dry plants plants can close their stomata to close water. What do you think that impact would have on photosynthesis? Okay, which part?
It slows down the transportation of water.
Yeah, transportation of water. We'll talk about how you can actually have photosynthesis occur at night as well. About how you don't have to have both stages running simultaneously. Yes, sir.
I get what you're talking about.
There you go, man. So you can see here, this is the top side of the leaf, this is the bottom side of the leaf. Why do you think the stomata are on the bottom?
Because when the rain goes on, it drips down to the bottom.
That also they're shaded because they're on the bottom side of the leaf. Okay, so they're not going to lose water as much. Alright, cool. There's a cuticle. Has anybody ever felt the leaf and it's really waxy on the outside? That's called the cuticle. There's the epidermis layer. You've got your guard cells here, etc. But as you can see, like the structure of the leaf kind of can get really complicated really, really quickly. Number 1 is the cuticle. 2 is the upper epidermis. Palisade, mesophyll, spongy mesophyll, lower epidermis, stoma, guard cells, xylem, phloem, and vascular bundle. What I want you to know is guard cells are the things on the stomata that can open and close it. And the stoma is actually the orifice which allows CO2 in and oxygen out. See the stomata under magnifying glass or under microscope.
This stomata thing allows oxygen in and out.
It allows oxygen out and CO2 in. How long is this video? 2 minutes. Y'all good watching this one?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Do you think you can do this? I don't know. This is not the best thing to show you when you're sleeping. It's very relaxing. I thought it had like a. Alright, so we're getting chloroplasts. Those little stacks are called grana. The little discs are called thylakoids. So the thylakoid membrane is where photosynthesis occurs. That fluid in the middle, kind of that we're swimming through right now, that is the stroma. That's where the cow cycle takes place. What are those things on the surface? What do you think those are? No. We're within a cell. Those are proteins. Okay? That one's probably ATP synthase. Yeah, big population. I don't know. That's for sure.
Like those big ones that are like circling or like.
No, let's make it ATP. It's actually pretty good.
Yeah, how do they know it looks like so?
Right. So there's a topic of players.
Pisces.
Wait, what were you saying?
Electron transmission microscope or a scanning electron microscope, you can see stuff at the microscopic level. We're at like the molecular level almost. Alright, so chloroplast, this is where photosynthesis takes place. They're going to have several membranes, an outer membrane, an inner membrane, and then your thylakoid actually has an additional membrane. So the thylakoid are these discs. Inside of the thylakoid is called the lumen. A static thylakoid is called a grana, and then the fluid on the inside, that is the stroma. Thylakoid is where the light reactions take place. The stroma is where the Calvin cycle happens. As you can see from this picture. Alright, so, again, this one just shows you light reactions happen in the thylakoid. They make ATP and NADPH, these energy carrying molecules that go to the Calvin cycle. Calvin cycle happens in the stroma, takes carbon dioxide and some hydrogen to turn CO2 into glucose. Oxygen is released as a byproduct as part of the light reactions in a process called photolysis, where it breaks apart water into hydrogens, electrons, and oxygens. Again, chloroplasts have a double membrane, inner and outer layer. Stroma, not to be confused with stoma. Stoma is the hole that the oxygen goes out, CO2 goes in. Grana, the stacks of thylakoids. Lumen's going to be inside the thylakoid. Only plant cells that conduct photosynthesis have chloroplasts. So would a root cell have a chloroplast?
What do you mean?
The cell of a root in a plant.
Oh, no.
Right now, typically, if it's going to do photosynthesis, what color is it going to be? Green. Right. So what's usually green on plants?
Leaves.
The leaves.
And stems.
Sometimes the stems, right? Yeah. So high density of chloroplasts occur in the mesophyll, which is that middle of the leaf of those cells. Okay. Y'all have any questions on the structure of the chloroplast? You're doing this. I got it.
Yeah, so how is it purple?
Okay, we'll get into that here in a second. Okay. So colored flowers, we're not going to get into right now. That's more like an evolutionary thing. But essentially, the reason flowers are colored is either to one, blend in, or two, attract pollinators. All right. And so there was a selection factor for attracting pollinators and all that to be selected for in the color. Again, light-dependent reactions happen in thylakoids. They give ATP and NADPH, that chemical energy, to the Calvin cycle, which helps make glucose. So what are the two stages? Photosynthesis?
Light reactions.
Light reactions. Calvin cycle. Yep. Calvin cycle is sometimes called the light-independent reactions. Yes, sir?
So the Calvin cycle is the only cycle that's like in both mitochondria and chloroplasts?
You're thinking of the Krebs cycle. The Krebs cycle is in mitochondria. The Calvin cycle is in photosynthesis. No, you're good. Not the first time that question's been asked. All right, on a hot day, dry plants close their stomata to conserve water. What impact will this have on photosynthesis? All right, think about look, read it, think about it. What does photosynthesis mean? Okay.
There's two gone already. Alright, here we go again.
All right.
Two chest.
Yeah, Q chest. A is 1, 2 is B, 3 is C. All right. What are we looking at here? Okay. Alright. Alright. It is
Give me 3.
1.
Okay.
Okay. Alright, so
Those don't make sense.
if we close the stomata, that means no CO2 is going in, no O2 is going out, right?
Yes.
That means if we're not having any of the substrates, the reactants to photosynthesis, would that make it go faster?
Oh yeah.
No, it would slow it down, right? So we know these two are done.
Uh-huh.
It will not increase photosynthesis. We know it's going to be inhibited. Now, will it be inhibited because the level of carbon dioxide increases, or because the level of oxygen decreases?
It needs carbon dioxide.
It makes
And it makes oxygen.
Yeah, it needs carbon dioxide. It makes oxygen. So that way. Okay.
I realized that like the last second, I was like, oh wait, I had it backwards.
And again, like that's kind of that question process as you're going through. It's like, hey, you don't necessarily have to know the right answer all the time. Sometimes you just need to know 3 wrong answers. Explain how light reactions and light independent reactions, the Calvin cycle of photosynthesis, are interdependent on each other. Okay, read and think.
And then
All right. Okay. Everybody get their thoughts? Mr. Shaw, quit flipping me off. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. All right. Okay. You and you are and are correct. Probably
you
correct.
can't give me 3.
Nope, not 3. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to see another, so I just didn't know that one.
Oh, it is
So-
it?
You did.
Right. So the light reactions make NADPH and ATP.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
And let's use 8.
It's not this one because it doesn't make NADPH. It takes NADPH to make NADP or NADP plus to make NADPH, right?
And
So
it'll make
you see-
ATP.
Yeah, if you see the plus, that's an indicator that it's a low energy molecule, right? Yeah, and ADP, those are low energy molecules. So that leaves us with this one and this one.
Yeah.
The light reaction doesn't use it, it makes it. Okay. Alright, major grocery stores in the United States are organized into departments such as dairy, meat, produce, bread, cereals, and so forth. Each aisle, there's a figure here, I got rid of it, contains hundreds if not thousands of different products. Although there's a large variety, each item links back to photosynthesis. Meats and dairy link because animals are fed plant-based foods. The bread, cereals, and pastas are largely from starchy grains, which are the seeds of photosynthesis-dependent plants. What about desserts and drinks? All these products contain sugar. Sucrose is a plant product, a disaccharide, a carbohydrate molecule, which is built directly from photosynthesis. Moreover, many items are less obviously derived from plants. For instance, paper goods are generally plant products. In many plastics, abundant as products in packaging are derived from algae. Virtually every spice and flavoring in the spice aisle is produced by a plant. As leaf, root, bark, flower, fruit, or stem. Ultimately, photosynthesis connects every meal and every food as a person consumes. So where would photosynthetic organisms likely be placed on a food web within ecosystems? The base, near the top, in the middle, closer to the top, or in the middle, closer to the base. All right, read, think. Right. Mr. Johnson, what are you thinking?
Hard.
Hard. What you working on? Alright, those of you that did 1, that is correct.
That's 3 in a row.
It's just one at
a
time.
That's the base of the food chain. Okay?
Switch up the answer.
Alright, that's kind of just a rough overview of photosynthesis. Any questions? Was it A on all of them?
Yeah.
Not intentional. Alright, did it help going through like non-level photosynthesis in one block in a day?
Yeah.
You didn't sound excited, did you? Yeah.
It is. It's just-
Alright, the light-dependent reactions, again, these are going to make ATP and NADPH, okay? These higher energy molecules. So we want to learn how do plants absorb energy from the sun, as well as what are the differences between short and long wavelengths of light, which wavelengths are used in photosynthesis. We also want to know how and where does photosynthesis occur within a plant. So where does photosynthesis occur in a plant?
Leaves.
Leaves, specifically where at in the leaves?
The middle.
The chloroplasts, which are located in the mesophyll, I
Exactly.
believe. Yeah, I'm helping you out. Alright, so what is light energy? Light energy is a type of electromagnetic energy or electromagnetic radiation composed of photon particles that travel as waves. We never got to this in physical science, so I'm sorry those of you, but we'll get to it in this year in physical science, and so they'll cover it too long, right? So the wavelength is the distance between two waves. The crest is the top, the trough is the bottom. Say what? What do you mean? I ruined it? Well, that's because we went too slow first semester.
Yeah, we did. And you told me you could get done in one semester.
I remember-
and
yeah.
the second semester.
Yeah, because you were lying to me.
You said we were gonna be able to pick what we wanted to work on. We were gonna get done so early,
Yeah, no.
And then we started
and
cheating.
then we made a 50 on that test and just went downhill.
Yeah.
That was a high.
Yeah.
I think it was you that was a high. It was
Oh,
me or
you-
you.
Yeah, he got like a 70 and everybody else is worse.
I got a 55.
Yeah, and then he came to AP Biology with the highest grade was 56.
That was 58. 58.
58?
Yeah, you could Xander got it, and I got 52.
Okay, alright. So longer wavelengths carry less energy than shorter wavelengths. So we can only see a fraction of this energy. That is the light that's in the visible range. Okay, so Roy G. Biv. Plants use wavelengths in this range too. Alright, so wavelengths are measured in nanometers. The visible range is 700 to 400 nanometers. The violets have the shortest wavelengths, and the reds have the longest. So which one's going to have more energy?
Violet.
Red is,
Violet.
Violet. Alright, go back here. Longer wavelengths carry less energy.
Yeah.
So the violets have the shortest wavelengths, most energy, the reds have the longest. Now colors are based on wavelength, so as you can see here, reds have the longest wavelength, violets the shortest, blues kind of intermediate, etc. And then we've got some yellows there at 600 nanometers as well. Alright, so plants are going to have pigments within their chloroplasts that absorb specific wavelengths of light. Each has a unique absorbance spectrum, meaning they're going to absorb a certain wavelength of light. The main pigments in the thylakoid membrane are chlorophyll A, chlorophyll B, and then beta carotene, which is a type of carotenoid.
I think it's baby.
However, what does carotene sound like?
Carrots.
Carrots.
It's orange, isn't it?
In the orange, okay? And we'll kind of get into that in a little bit. Now, over here, we've got chlorophyll A, chlorophyll B, beta carotene, and the absorption of light. So let's look at chlorophyll A, which is this first solid line. What wavelengths of light does it absorb the most of?
Blue and green.
Blue,
Mm-hmm.
kind of getting to blue-green, and then over here, lots of reds.
Yeah.
Okay. Chlorophyll B is this kind of hash line down here. We're getting into kind of the blue-green, a little bit more of the green, and then it also does some reds too. Beta carotene,
It's a really tiny one.
the really
Lot of
tiny
green.
lines here, and it just absorbs over here. And so here on the reds and the oranges, it doesn't absorb those. So if it's not absorbing those colors, what's it doing? It's reflecting them, right?
That's
So
why it's orange.
that's why it's orange, right? Because beta carotene absorbs all the stuff, but it leaves out kind of the red and the oranges, right? Now, if you notice here, we have this giant gap for chlorophyll A and chlorophyll B at what color?
Yellow.
Yeah, green and yellow, right? So the reason plants are green is because
They're purple.
they reflect green light. Okay? They actually don't absorb green light. Yes, ma'am.
Purple's not a real color.
Violet?
What do you say, violet?
What do you mean purple's not a real color? Purple.
Yeah, purple.
What do you mean it's not a real color?
Yeah, I don't know.
What did you
That's why I'm gonna say violet because it's that rainbow Roy G. Biv. V is for violet.
blue?
No, did you see that
No,
door?
this couple was saying this morning, purple's not a real color. Saying, just like, what was saying, it's an imaginary color that our eyes make in the
Yeah.
because it's a
Let's
gap.
keep you.
It was like something to do with rods and cones.
Oh, okay.
And
Alright, I see what you're saying now. She's probably saying there's not a wavelength for purple, but our brain basically
Yeah.
finds a thing. That's
Yeah.
however, I will say there is a wavelength for violet.
Your violet's pretty much purple.
Yeah, violet's pretty much purple, I would say. So why are plants green? Because they reflect green light, right? So they reflect light, right? That's the same true color. So I'm not sure if you know how color works, but the reason we're able to see color is because light is reflected off stuff. So if something looks red, it's because red is reflecting off of it, and something looks yellow, it's because yellow is reflecting off of it. There's two exceptions. Yes, sir.
What about black? Is that like that?
Black is no reflection.
Okay.
Okay.
White.
And then white is all the colors put together.
So white's technically the most colorful color.
Wrong, an idiot. No. Alright, so why are plants green? Sir.
what about
Silver, that reflects everything, and so and the way it reflects it is the wavelengths are straight, or the light reflection is straight. That's why we can see visuals, because you can sandpaper this stuff, and then it will look kind of more dull, and that's because it'll still reflect light, but it's not reflecting it in the direction straight back to you.
So it absorbs all the other colors, but reflects the weak.
Yes, sir. You got it. Okay.
That's weird.
This is just kind of another little visual here. Fingers of the plant absorb light at different wavelengths. If you look at this, which color of light is not being absorbed by chlorophyll A and B?
Yellow.
Green. You know, etc. This lower graph shows the rate of photosynthesis at different wavelengths of light. How are the two graphs related to each other? So this is the rate of photosynthesis here. What's happening here? Are we doing a lot of photosynthesis or a little? A lot. What are we doing over here? A lot, right? So the places where we're absorbing light, that is where we get the most energy or photosynthesis from. Anybody ever heard of grow lights?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Essentially, grow lights, are targeted to be over here. Okay. And the reason is like, let's say if we're trying to run a business and it takes 100, like we'll say anyways, we're trying to grow plants, roses, let's say. You don't want to spend your energy bill making green light. Does that make sense? Let's say we have a 100-watt light bulb, and 20 watts of that is used to make green light, which doesn't use. All right, let's do an 80-watt light bulb, and we get to use 20% less energy to be more efficient in making photosynthesis, if that makes sense. Chlorophyll A and B capture light for photosynthesis. The reason leaves are green wavelengths are reflected. Beta-carotene helps protect photosystems by dissipating excess energy, and is also found in the cells of carrots and oranges. I assume so, I don't know. Other carotenoids include lycopene, which is the color of a red tomato, and zeaxanthin, the yellow corn seeds. So that's why we see different colors. That's why I said I was going to get to it. Yeah, it's the wavelengths here. Which colors can have the most energy?
I see violet. Or no, it's kind of blue.
Right.
I see
Most energy. This is the absorption of the energy.
violet.
Right? Yeah. Shorter wavelengths, higher frequencies are going to have more energy.
Oh yeah.
How long is this one?
2 minutes.
Is it?
See.
Yeah, I can't tell.
Oh, it's already started.
5 minutes.
Just 2 minutes.
We'll watch it, but I'll speed it up.
Okay.
The process of photosynthesis produces ATP from ADP.
Yeah,
please.
Electrons
that are passed along in electron transfer.
Come on, 2.
Coupled
Hey, if you're going to pay attention, we're going to watch it all.
The following complexes are found in the photosynthesis electron transport. Photosystem 2, cytochrome B6F, photosystem 1, ferredoxin and ATP reductase, and the complex that makes ATP synthase. In addition to complexes, 3 mobile carriers are also involved: plasticquinone QB, plasticyanine, and ferredoxin. Other key components include photons, chlorophyll molecules, protons, water, molecular oxygen, NADP, and the electrons to form NADPH, and ADP and PI, which combine to form ATP. Photosynthesis occurs in chloroplasts of plants and algae. The process is also found in single-cell organisms such as cyanobacteria that do not have chloroplasts. Like its mitochondrial counterpart, the chloroplast electron transport chain consists of several protein complexes into mobile electron carriers. First, a photon of light hits a chlorophyll molecule surrounding the photosystem II complex. This creates resonance energy that is transferred to neighboring chlorophyll molecules. When this energy reaches the reaction center embedded in photosystem II, an electron is released. The reaction center chlorophyll contains electrons that can be transferred when excited. One photon is needed to excite each of the electrons in its chlorophyll. Once excited, two electrons are transferred to plastic quinone QB, the first mobile carrier. In addition to the two electrons, QB also picks up two protons from the stroma. The two electrons lost from photosystem II are replaced by the splitting of water molecules. Water splitting also releases hydrogen ions into the lumen. This contributes to a hydrogen-ion gradient, similar to the one created by mitochondrial electron transport. After two water molecules have been split, one molecule of molecular oxygen is created. Plastic quinone QB then transfers the two electrons to the cytochrome B6F complex. The two protons it picked up are released into the lumen. These transfers are coupled with the pumping of two more hydrogen ions into the lumen space by cytochrome Bs.
All right, point of clarification. When they say proton, it's the same thing as a hydrogen ion. Okay, do y'all understand that? Do you really? You're saying like, yeah.
Why do you consider it that?
I'll tell you. So, what's the atomic number of hydrogen? Do you remember? One. How many protons does hydrogen have? One. Okay. How many electrons does it have? If it has an atomic number of 1, it's gonna have 1 electron. Okay. If it loses an electron, what's left? Which is what? A proton, right? So a proton is just a hydrogen ion that has a positive charge. Okay. So when you hear proton within the realm of biology, it's the same thing as a hydrogen ion. Okay. Does that kind of make sense? Because these electrons, they were lost.
So does it not have any neutrons?
99.5% of the time, no. So there's 3 different versions of hydrogen.
Mm-hmm.
There is what's called protium, which I'm just going to draw the nuclei. There is deuterium, and then there's tritium.
I'm guessing the other one's the most common, the protein.
Yeah, these are like 99+%.
So what do you usually find the other two? Because I don't remember the names that you just said.
They'll still be everywhere else except for this guy. This guy's super rare.
Tritium.
Yeah, tritium, right. They'll still be, like, it's just in the water that you drink, the hydrogen that's there, 99% plus is going to be that protium, and then you're still going to have, like, a little bit of deuterium in there. If that makes sense.
Okay, I get it.
We were at, like,
Once excited,
I'm going to throw this against the wall. This is why we don't watch videos.
space by cytochrome B6F.
There?
The electric lumen.
yeah.
Right there,
These
actually.
transfers are coupled with the pumping of 2 more hydrogen ions into the lumen space by cytochrome B6F. The electrons are next transferred to plastocyanin, another mobile carrier. Next, the electrons are transferred from plastocyanin to the photosystem I complex. It is here that photons again energize each electron and propel their transfer to paradoxin. Paradoxin then transfers the electrons to the paradoxin NADP reductase, also known as FNR. After 2 electrons are transferred to FNR, NADPH is made by adding the 2 electrons and hydrogen ion to NADP. The gradient created by the electron transfer chain is utilized by ATP synthase to create ATP from ADP and PI. This is similar to the way ATP is synthesized in the mitochondria. ATP, NADPH, and molecular oxygen are the final vital products of photosynthesis.
Yay!
That one thing looks like a giant monkey.
The ATP synthase? Yeah, parts of it do. You know, hey, guess what I get to do?
Huh.
Boom, just press the exit button.
Crazy.
Crazy.
You're so proud of that, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm happy because I don't have to worry about it. Also, it doesn't take as long to upload anymore, which is great. All right, components of the thylakoid membrane. It's going to be demonstrated here to the right in this little figure. Photosystems 2 and 1 are the sites of light absorption. So photo means light. Photosystems is where light gets absorbed. The molecules that make up an electron transport chain are in here as well, between the photosystems and after photosystem 1. Now, point of order. Which photosystem is first in this process? Photosystem 2 or photosystem 1?
2.
Photosystem 2 is first. Okay, the reason it is first is because
It's real different.
no, they're named in their order of discovery. So photosystem 1 was discovered first, and then they discovered photosystem 2.
That's fine.
simply.
You think, right?
Should be studied.
Two enzyme complexes, NADP reductase and ATP synthase. So you've got NADP reductase and then ATP synthase. NADP reductase reduces NADP plus. Reduction is the gain or loss of electrons.
Game.
Gain, yep.
It's ordering.
Yep, you gain electrons, right? We gain 2 electrons here. That's how we go from having 2 positive charges to a neutral charge. And then ATP synthase, ATP. Okay. Basically, it's going to look like this. Again, so light energy hits the photosystem 2. What in photosystem 2 does it hit?
The
Chlorophyll.
Phil.
This chlorophyll causes this light energy to excite these electrons, give them higher energy. They leave chlorophyll from the photosystem and go somewhere else. But we lost 2 electrons. We need to get 2 back. We do this by splitting water. We basically take electrons from water to replace those electrons that we took away. Good question.
I just say 1/2 OC.
So that the stoichiometry matches. So if it makes you feel better, 2 H2O and then 1 O2 plus 4
Wait, you
H4
can
plus.
have half an oxygen?
Because no, you can't. Well, you can because it's O2, and so it's just 1 oxygen molecule. They just did it this way so that you wouldn't have to have 2 O2, 2
Okay,
H2O,
Sorry,
or whatnot. It's just so it's stoichiometric to be complete, right? Now, as these electrons move through this electron transport chain, what are they doing? Same thing they did in the electron transport chain in cell respiration. What's their job? They
Transport electrons.
no energy. Listen, matter cannot be created nor destroyed, so we can't create more electrons.
Creativity or like.
How?
Transport. By
Transporting what? Hydrogen ions, right? So the energy from these hydrogen electrons, they got the energy from sunlight. It's used to move hydrogen ions across the membrane, creating a
Stroma.
No, the
What?
gradient.
yeah, creating a chemiosmotic gradient
That.
so that ATP synthase can make ATP.
You pointed no sulfide stroma.
Yeah, so this is actually called the lumen. Okay, because we're in a thylakoid. You know those little disc things?
Oh, so
This is the thylakoid.
it's a stacky thing. Just
Yep.
one of those.
Yep, yes sir.
Like the cool side of it.
The photosystems, we've got photosystem 2 here on the left. Again, it's the first step of the process. This is also where water gets split, called
Yep.
photolysis.
Those
And then
things.
photosystem 1 is where it gets, the electrons get hit a second time, and then this energy is used to make NADPH.
What's wrong?
Yes, sir.
Those examples.
Yeah, they do look exactly the same in this picture. But the processes are different.
So it's a big difference.
Photosystem 2 and 1 consist of light harvesting complex and a reaction center. The pigments in the light harvesting complex pass light energy to 2 special chlorophyll A molecules at the reaction center. In the reaction center, the light excites an electron from chlorophyll, a pair of electrons, passing it to the first electron receptor of the electron transport chain. So the photosystems, just think of them as giant solar collectors, like they're collecting light energy and then passing it to chlorophyll.
So there's solar panels that are chloroplasts.
Pretty much, yeah. I would say solar panels. Have you ever seen like the those solar power plants that have all the mirrors that angle it up toward the top?
No.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So essentially, view it as like a collector, like a solar collector, because they angle all the light energy into one spot, but that one spot's chlorophyll. Okay, you have a question?
So would you say that we modeled solar panels from plants?
I mean, we borrowed the idea, I would say. Yeah. This is a light-driven redox reaction. Redox is just reduction, oxidation, the movement of electrons.
Wait, reduction oxidation, so it just doesn't mean anything. Because reduction is gain. Oxidation.
Yeah, that's just a term for types of reactions. Because keep in mind, like, if you're reducing something, you're also oxidizing something else.
Fair point.
Okay. Because oxidation is loss of electrons, like, you're taking electrons from here, putting them here. This is getting oxidized, this is getting reduced.
Nice.
The lost electron is then replaced. Electrons come from the splitting of water, which releases oxygen as a byproduct. So in photosystem 1, the electron comes from the electron transport chain and then ends up going to that NADP+. Alright, get out of here. Thank you. Hey, enjoy your weekend. I'm going to.